while you're at the desert park, one thing you'll notice is the backdrop, the big tall escarpment of sandy rock. This is called quartzite. That makes up the bottom layer of a geological formation known as the Amadeus Basin. Now, the Amadeus Basin is a large depression on the Earth's surface that formed about 800 million years ago. It formed on top of that crystalline basement that I mentioned earlier. And it was in this basin that a seaway was present. So right here in Central Australia, back then 800 million years ago, we would have been underwater in this shallow sea. And that's where the sands of the heavy tree quartzite, which forms this backdrop to the desert park, were laid down. Now, if you were to travel to the other side of that escarpment, the heavy tree range, you would have a thick sequence of rocks of the Amadeus Basin that records several 100 million years of Earth history, charting the beginnings of large, obvious life. Some of the oldest fossils that we find at the heavy tree quartzite are displayed behind us here. These are known as stromatolites. They are basically bacterial colonies that, because we were so far back in time, there were no large animals to feed on these bacterial mats, and they were able to grow into large, uninterrupted colonies, which then trapped sediment and grew into these macroscopic structures that we can actually see for ourselves, even though they're made by microscopic bacteria. This specimen is a cut section through one of these stromatolites, and we can see that it is made of lots and lots of very thin layers of rock, all piled on top of each other to create this sort of mound-like pillow structure. Each of these layers records a period of growth of the stromatolite. So what was happening was that over the surface there was a mat of tiny microscopic bacteria, and they would trap tiny little particles of sediment that were drifting through the water column. They would get stuck to the bacteria and grow, and the bacteria would form filaments that would grow around them and then bind them to the stromatolite. Hence, the stromatolite would grow upwards continuously. In this specimen, the mounds of the stromatolites have grown into tall columns that run through the rock like a series of closely packed pipes. This is just one of the many forms that stromatolites can take.